What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. This is Forgo, and since Netmarble is giving us these stone selection boxes, whether it's the HP stone or it's the double attack stone, we can choose whatever dot we want except for Starlight, and we can choose for whatever character typing we want, whether they're blue, purple, red, green, and so on, whether they're attack, defense, or balance type fighters. So I thought it'd be a good idea to give you guys the best characters to slap one of them stones on, since you can actually select it. Now, before we get into this video, as always, whatever character you love and whatever character you want to level up, that's the character you should slap those imprint stones on, right? If that's the character you play with the most often, or that's the character you just really love with all your heart and you want to make them as the best you can, then by all means, give them that imprint stone. But for those of us that are really trying to prioritize the strongest characters that we have available to us, that's who this list is going to be pertaining to. But before I get into this, I do want to mention that in the last video, I mentioned that, I wasn't sure if collab characters, 3PGs could not be interrupted, or could be interrupted by Rugal or by Nightmare Geese and Guild Raid, and the answer is there are some that actually don't get interrupted. The Rock being one, which is fantastic. I can't believe I actually forgot about this. I made a video about this a long time ago. But yeah, he can't be interrupted. I believe King can't be interrupted. And maybe there's more. So that gives a lot of hope for the DOA 6 characters that are coming into the game, as far as them not being able to get interrupted in Guild Raid if they are applicable there. So that is something to keep in mind. That does actually kind of boost up their stocks, knowing that we already do have some collaboration characters that can't be interrupted in Nightmare Geese or Rugal. And speaking of Nightmare Geese and Rugal, good old Guild Raid, this game mode really stocks has even went up ever since we've been able to salvage our imprint stones. Because now that we can salvage imprint stones, we are playing all of these game modes. We're playing easy, normal, hard, expert, and lunatic, because we're trying to get as many imprint stones as possible. That way, we are able to craft these babies and hopefully get these moonstones or crescent moons and star-shaped stones, so we can add extra HP, extra attack, extra dot to our characters so they can do a lot more damage. So it just makes this game mode super valuable, and this list that I'm going to give you is really based on that. And I'm going to be prioritizing hard, expert, and lunatic. And there's going to be 4 major dot effects that you're going to need for this, whether it's going to be poison, shock, darkness, and burn. Those are going to be the main ones. Starlight, obviously, but none of those stones that we're going to be able to select have Starlight, so we're not really taking that into account. And if we jump in here and click on here, these are all the characters with burn. So I'm going to give you guys the characters that I think you should slap one on, because you can play burn on hard mode against Rugal, and the top character is obviously going to be Keo. If you don't have imprint stones for Keo, he should be your number 1. He's the highest damage dealing character in the game. The next one would absolutely be SS Mai. She's godly, guys. I mean, she's like good old Keo. The next one after that, I'd have to actually go with SS Iori. SS Iori on his default actually does apply burn, and it does last for 10 seconds. So he's actually very, very strong for this. He's got that super long 3PG. Very, very good character for this. Then after that, we're going to start getting into some other characters. I would have to say that Rachel would be next. She is an absolute god. Get over that. And then I'd have to go with Kei, Orochi, or Nest Keo if I was going to look at burn characters other than that. I mean, you could slap it on any of these other characters, but those would be my top picks. Then we're going to take a look at darkness characters here. Okay, so the best character here, in my opinion, to give a darkness stone to would be Ignis. And it's always going to be the BS and SS characters are always going to be on top. I'll throw out some other options out there, but Ignis is really he's just godly, guys. I mean, he's nuts. He's got shock damage and he has darkness, so you could actually put a shock stone on him, or you could put darkness stone on him to really amplify those dot effects, because even though Ignis's darkness only applies when he's landing hits, it's not a lasting dot effect. It's so strong. He's so strong that he just melts that meter against Guild Raid. He's really number 1 in my opinion. And then I'd have to go with BS Chrysalid easily. BS Chrysalid is a monstrous character, can cancel skills super, super fast, and he actually does have Starlight. Now, you could put a Darkness Stone on him, and since you can't choose a Starlight Stone, it's all good, right? because you're still going to be doing a lot more damage because you're going to have the extra darkness from the stone that you would pick. So it would be Ignitz and then BS Chrysalid. And then, you know, I'd probably have to go with Nightmare Geese. I think Nightmare Geese would actually be third on this list. And then we'd have to go with Iori. And, you know, it's all, again, you know, it's going to be the BS and SS always on top. Iori actually has darkness on his first skill. He has a nice long 3 PG. And none of these characters, except for Chrysalid's, PG can be interrupted. Now, Chrysalid's 5 PG cannot be interrupted in the guild raids. So his 3 PG can, but his 5 PG cannot. So that is something to keep in mind. It works actually really well. I've used it many times. So those would be the top 4 characters. After that, it's going to have to be Dellen's. I think Dellen's just insanely strong. Really, when it comes to the 7 Knights characters, or really the collaboration characters, I mean, people should have those stones. If they had enough AP, they were able to farm enough coins to get the stones for them from the rush events. But if you don't, Dellen's would actually be next. And then I'd probably go with Meliodas. So it's going to be Ignitz, BS Chrysalid, Nightmare Geese, Iori, then Dellen's, and then I would go with Meliodas. And you could absolutely put one on Halloween Chris. He's not going to be good for Guild Raid, but he is actually really good for certain Immortal Dungeons. Psyche and Lady Geese just aren't that good at characters. I wouldn't really put those on them. I mean, you can if you want. If you love the characters, go for it. I mean, I love Psyche, but he just isn't that good really for anything, to be perfectly honest with you guys. And he can apply some darkness, but that's about it. You could give it to Merlin, but Merlin has multiple dot effects. It's I don't know. It's one of those things with Merlin. You could put like pretty much almost any dot effect on her, and you're going to get buffs. And again, you know, she is a 7 Deadly Sins collaboration character, so more than likely you already have the 3 stones for her. But I mean, she does apply, you know, burn, bleed, poison, chill, and shock. So whatever stone you would put on this character, like whatever dot effect, it's going to help her. But really for her, chill would be absolutely the best because you're always going to have it from the second skill if you're going to slap a stone on this character. Then we have poison. Now it comes as no surprise who's going to be number 1 for this. It is absolutely going to be Zero. Zero is easily the best character when it comes to poison. There is no competition for old boy in here. He's just monstrous. And then really after that, I'd probably have to go with Dancing Elizabeth. Yeah, I mean, whenever she, like, I've tested her against Nightmare Geese, and man, she can break that meter pretty quick. She actually can, but boy, she can't. Her survivability is a bit of an issue. She can die pretty easy, but she does have the decreased damage received on her by 85%. That's pretty massive, but it's only for 3 seconds. So during that 3 seconds, you'll be in pretty good shape. But if that thing isn't up, she'll die pretty damn quick. And I'm pretty sure her 3 PG can be interrupted. And as far as these other characters, I mean, when it comes to Leona, she's a good character for Immortal Dungeons, but not really for Guild Raid, guys. She dies way too easy. The same with Pretty Big. These other characters just really aren't the greatest for Nightmare Geese. Unfortunately, when it comes to poison damage, really you just want to use a striker more than anything, unless you have Zero. If you have Zero and you haven't built up, that's the character that you would actually use for Nightmare Geese in expert mode. Then we have Shock. Okay, so now we got our shock damage characters, and lo and behold, here we have Ignitz and Nightmare Geese, right? And they're going to be the 2 best, guys. I mean, that's just the truth of it. And the thing about these 2 characters that's pretty awesome and really just what makes them so good is neither their 3 PGs can be interrupted. Whereas in Ignitz, by the way, his default can't be interrupted either. Nightmare Geese's default can, but Ignitz's cannot. But both of these characters have shock and darkness. Geese has shock and darkness that's a lasting dot effect, and Ignitz has the shock that's a lasting dot effect that's a 10-second dot effect, and his darkness is only applies whenever your landing hits. They are insane. So whether you put a shock stone on one of these guys or whether you put a darkness stone on them, it's really going to buff up their damage something fierce, and you can do very well with them. Obviously, Ignitz is going to be the best choice. So you see Ignitz twice show up in here because of the shock, because of playing Lunatic against Nightmare Geese, and because of the darkness playing Expert against Rugal, right? It just makes the character insanely good, right? I mean, he's top notch, guys. He's top notch. Eileen is insanely strong, and she's damn good for Rugal. But against Nightmare Geese, man, she's fragile. She has no decreased damage received. She can die super, super fast, super, super easy, and I'm pretty sure her 3PG can be interrupted. And as far as these other characters, I mean, it's really up to you, right? If you want to slap on stones on these characters, if you love them, go for it. But as far as guild rate is concerned, they're not really gonna do it for you. They're just not gonna get it done, guys. They're gonna die. They won't last very long because, I mean, Nightmare Geese is just a monstrous character. Every time he does that Raging Storm, you die almost instantly. He can one-shot lots and lots and lots of opponents, even though, you know, Orochi Leona is very good, Lady Chang's very good, Geese 14 is really good as long as you got that 3PG from Nightmare Geese, but they just die instantly. Even Ignis is pretty good now, but they will die pretty quick. And Ignis does have a decreased damage received, and I'm talking about regular Ignis. He just can't do it, guys. He doesn't have any immunity. Yeah. So it's really just going to be between Ignis and Nightmare Geese. So those would be my top picks for the characters that you should slap those stones on. I mean, again, you know, a lot of us, you know, if we were able to get the BS and SS characters to 3-star, then we're going to use those stones on a different character. But for some of you out there that weren't able to do it, maybe you only got those BS and SS characters to 1-star or 2-star, and you didn't get all the imprint stones, you can slap one of those imprint stones on them. And even if it's the HP stone, it's still a good stone, although for your main damage dealers, especially in Guild Raid, the double attack is going to be better. But it is awesome that the game is giving us free stones. I think that's fantastic. So let me know who you're going to be giving your stones to, and I do stream on Twitch at 9 p.m. GMT plus 7 time. The link will be in the description below, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See ya.